Hold on. Yes, we are live on YouTube now. So yeah, on today's show, what I want to talk about is first of all, just get a little, how's everybody feeling? International break is over and we're back in the swing of the Premier League. So definitely want to just like get your guys' feelings on how you guys are, you know, coping with Arsenal in the season so far. But pivoting to the sporting director conversation because links are now out. The search is on Luis Campos, Thiago Scuro, Simon Rolfes, and Roberto Olabe are all being considered. But everybody under the sun is also being linked to us for some reason. So, yeah, we'll talk about which options are best, which option is best, what direction we should go in. I said when when they announced that Edu was um, out and he left, that this was a massive opportunity for Arsenal. And some people were like, how could this be a massive opportunity? It's not really a big opportunity. And I'm like, if you looked at our recruitment over the last couple of years, there've been quite a few hits, but there've also been some big misses. There's also it feels like Arsenal can't like walk and chew gum at the same time. It feels almost as if, we can only recruit for the now and there is no being able to look at the future. There's no bringing in young players from other leagues. There's no feeder club. It's basically like very basic kind of recruitment where we go to other Premier League teams and overpay for their players. And so it just feels like we could be doing a lot more. And because Arsenal are not the type of team that has like unlimited funds, it'd be really, really nice if we could get somebody in that could operate within our budget, but also bring in like top talent. I feel like that's super important, and it's been a little bit of a miss so far, which doesn't mean that everything has been bad, but we also know that everything has not been good, and everything can't be good, but you guys get what I'm saying. And there was a little bit of tea that came out from Edu or somebody in Edu's camp, I'm sure, because I think one of the biggest kind of weird things that came out, was like about the Brazilian players that just like never came in. When Edu first got uh the job, he was meant to bring in Brazilian talent. You would think that with his links to Corinthians that he'd be able to bring in someone. He was supposed to have all these contacts in South America. And no one came in but Marquinhos. Marquinhos, who, by the way, is going to end up back at Arsenal in January. So it hasn't been like tapped into at all. But I saw something over the international break that said that Edu wanted to bring in young talent, but from Brazil, but it was like, you know, basically Arsenal said no, or somebody told him no. And one of the concerns that you guys know that I've had about the power that Arteta has is that everyone kind of just does what he says. And Edu's role as a sporting director was very much so minimized. And so if he's trying to bring in young Brazilian talent and they're just saying no, then like he has very little other connections outside of agent, connections. So I did find that to be a little strange because I'm like, you've been here for like 6-7 years and you haven't brought us anybody but Marquinhos. And I know somebody's going to be like, but he brought us Martinelli. That was Francis Cachagao. That was pretty much already done, signed, sealed, and delivered by the time Edu came in. So that was brought up. And I was like, well, I don't know if Arteta just didn't want the Brazilian talent. I just don't see how you could not. There's been so much prime Brazilian talent that's went to other teams. Like, why wouldn't you want to utilize that? But equally, maybe Arsenal need a sporting director that can bring in young talent that Arteta is interested in. But this is why it's so important to bring in somebody with a lot of experience and somebody else that, basically has such a good like record that they could tell Arteta like this is what we're gonna do. Whether you like it or not. I think there needs to be a grown up in the room. I just feel like there has to be somebody in the room that's saying you're gonna use this Brazilian talent. He's gonna be great. Don't damage the goods. Use this talent, or somebody in the room that's going to say no, you're not going to get Kai Havertz, you're going to do this, you're going to get a striker and you're going to like it. And so these names that are coming up, I think one of the biggest things that I'm looking at is what kind of experience do they have, what is their background, what are they known for, and do they have enough, you know do they have enough about them, enough aura per se, to come into the room and everybody listens. I just really think that, I Arteta can run whatever's going on at training, and that's his realm. But genuinely, I just feel like him and the goalkeeper coach running roughshod on the sporting director just doesn't feel like the right direction. And I know that that might sound a little bit dramatic, but that's genuinely how it's been. Arteta and Inaki Kanya are running you know, they're running recruitment, and the sporting director has no say. And that's why every single window we're going into it looking for goalkeepers instead of getting strikers. So yeah. Errol says, hey Jess, good you're back. Good to see you. Good to see you as well. Errol says, Jess, do you think we should do a striker in Jan, and who, please? For those of you guys who want to talk more about strikers and Isak and Jokeris and stuff like that, I'm doing a show at 12 my time, 8 p.m. UK time for that. I set up the stream already. It's pinned in the comment section. So we'll talk about that stuff then, because I feel like let's do the sporting director conversation now. And then we'll talk about that stuff later. Simba says Campos has won league titles with smaller teams and arguably more harder leagues to win titles because of PSG. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel. Let's see. Let's go into the Luis Campos first, because that's probably the biggest name that we're being linked to. And this is the name that I don't know if you guys were here like a couple months ago. I was like, if he's available at all. I think there's like the initial link for Edu to go to this the Nottingham Forest Sporting Group, whatever it's called. My initial gut feeling was like, I kind of hope he takes this job, not because I hate Edu, but because we need a change. We need something different. And so and Luis Campos also became available, and I'm like, well, if he's available, we should go get him. And I know it's like, but Edu, we need somebody that's elite, that is the best in their position in some department. We have a lot of learning on the jobbers. Somebody needs to know what the frick they're doing, So listen, PSG sporting director Luis Campos is under consideration to replace Edu at Arsenal. I'll look at some of his most notable signings. So he was at Lille, and he was at Lille, and he was also at Monaco. So at the time that he was at Monaco, from 2013 to 2016, he signed Anthony Martial, Bernardo Silva, Adama Traore, Fabinho, Thomas Lemar, and Kylian Mbappe. If you guys remember that really, really exciting Monaco team that Mbappe was pretty like the front man for, and I remember at the time they had like Fabinho and Bakayoko in midfield. They had Thomas Lemar, who's up there, Mbappe, Bernardo Silva, Falcao, I think as well. Fabulous team. And so he helped build that team. And that team was competing at a high, high level. And then Lille, from 2017 to 2020, Rafael Leao, Victor Osimhen, and Nicolas Pepe. And most of those have been very successful. So, he has a really, really good track record. And he's probably the most well-known. I would say if there is a con, is that no offense to Monaco or Lille, they're kind of on the smaller side. And so since he's been at PSG, they haven't been as successful. In terms of like, PSG's whole thing is winning the Champions League, which, it's kind of Arsenal's thing too, as well. If you think about it, Arsenal's whole thing is winning the Champions League, or winning anything, because we haven't won shit in 20 years. But um, at PSG, they haven't been able to nick that. They haven't been able to get that done. Is that necessarily Luis Campos' problem? No, you know, um, I don't think so. Um, yeah, I don't really think that that's on him. I think he's brought in a lot of talent. And let's see what he's done at PSG. But that's probably the only ding. But if you want to go out there and make a statement, this is kind of who you need to go after. The other people we'll talk about as well, but I feel like this is just kind of who you have to go after. But I'd love to know your guys' opinion in the comment section. But yeah, so he was, yes, appointed in 2022. And he's in charge as a strategic advisor at PSG until 2025. Portuguese has lots of obviously connections to the big agents as well. But at PSG, they brought in Barcola. They've been able to bring in Desire Doué. They brought in João Neves. They've also been able to kick their deadwood to dumb Premier League sides, So it's like, they're not doing too bad. Vitinha, who I think is like really, really good. So, I mean, they are identifying talent. They went through a difficult, moment with the Messi, Mbappe, Neymar situation that didn't work out. But the talent is there at PSG. The talent is there. Is he building a side that's going to win the Champions League for PSG? Probably not. But, is he bringing in high quality talent? Yeah, he is, so he's the guy. Like, I think he's the guy, but yeah, that's just me. um, Brat says, it's not they had all the talent plus Neymar and Mbappe. Whatever PSG failed to achieve is on them and management. Simba says, he buys good players at PSG, but the leadership changes managers so the players seem bad. And that's where I'm kind of going with this is anybody that's like, but they haven't done anything at PSG. What about PSG? If you bring the talent there, it's up to Luis Enrique and the players to deliver. But the talent is there. We all know there's plenty of players at PSG that I would take instantly right this moment. So he's done a really, really good job. He was a scout at Real Madrid. He went to Monaco, like I said, did really well there. He did really well at Lille. Now he's at PSG, and that's the person that I'd be poaching, especially just because I know you don't just want to get big names, but you want to get people that, it's like, okay, they're serious. You don't have to just look through the weeds to try to figure out if this guy is good or not. He's good, Let's see. Read that comment. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with that. Hello to everybody watching on Instagram. If you guys want to actually like join the conversation, comments and all of that are going to be like discussed on actually YouTube. So you guys can join on there. But otherwise, you guys can just watch from Instagram as well because this is kind of cool. Somebody requested to join, not accepting join requests as of yet, but yeah. And Victor says, give this guy 700 million and we're winning big. And so, like I said earlier on, and I don't know, people were fighting me tooth and fucking nail, like the weirdest fucking people on the planet, when I said that this was a massive opportunity. And a big reason why this is a big opportunity is because we know Arteta is not going anywhere. Unless Arteta goes, and I'm not saying Arteta out, hear me out let me finish the whole thing. Arteta's not going anywhere unless he wants to leave. And the only thing that you can change at the highest level and see, I feel like, a big change on the pitch is in recruitment or in coaching. So if the coach isn't going to leave and there's no chance of moving him on, he doesn't look like he's going anywhere, then the next biggest person that you can get rid of, or the next biggest person that can make a difference, is the sporting director. And so if you get better talent into the team, even if Arteta is not the best coach or is doing his galaxy brain nonsense, then you can still get things done. So Edu leaving has given us an opportunity of a fucking lifetime to get somebody in there that can bring more talent into the side, and somebody that is not just going to sit by and just tell Arteta that, yeah, we're going to get you this player, even though this player doesn't help us. It gives him, and I'm so happy that it feels like we're going away from this internal, like, hire from within, because there is nobody at Arsenal right now that can do this job, that can build a squad with and bring in elite talent. There's no one there, not not anyone, not Mikel either. So they need to go outside and use this opportunity as a way to get Arsenal to that next level. And we've had so many misses under Mikel and Edu that we definitely need some new energy in there. 100%. Samuel says, who was the sporting director during Wenger's time? Wenger was basically the sporting director for a very long time. And then when we were actually good and we were winning shit, David Dean was working with Arsene. So basically, once we went down to this, the Arsene is the main guy and the only guy, everything fell apart. And if we go in that direction with Arteta, not only is Arteta not as good of a manager as Arsene was, and I feel like that's not that bad to say, it's going to be worse if you just give him and Inaki Kanya just carte blanche to do whatever the fuck they want to do. That little report that came out that said that they had Edu in Spain almost the entire summer window trying to get that backup goalkeeper, and they failed, and then they ended up getting a cup-tied goalkeeper on deadline day, was one of the, I was like, you have got to do something different. You cannot let Arteta and Inaki Kanya just do whatever the fuck they want to do. There's just no way. Ali says, I want someone who can say no. Edu should have vetoed Havertz signing, especially when Arteta wanted him in midfield. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, I think it was well reported that Edu and the rest of the recruitment team did not think that this was a good signing. And they were overruled by Arteta. Arteta convinced them and they made it happen. And this whole, we need to support the manager and give them what they want, it's not the direction we should be going in. They should be working together to create an elite side. But there has to be somebody that doesn't just give in to his desires. You know what I mean? I agree. You need somebody that Edu and the recruitment team did not want him, did not think Kai was the right signing, and they still did it. That can't happen, Marco says, I truly don't know these three guys well. The profile I go for is somebody that can work with Arteta, but also challenge Arteta. Is tough to do. And it is a tough balance because I feel like Arteta doesn't play well with others. And, I think he likes to have the power. That's why all of his, coaching staff, except for AirPod, is younger than him, but I think if Pep doesn't have all the power at City and Klopp didn't have all the power at Liverpool, then why does Arteta have all the power at Arsenal? He's a lesser manager. I don't get it. His talent ID is what it is, and we're actively building a side full of left backs, broken down left backs at that, and goalkeepers. We need to move on from this era. And a lot of that is just because he is obsessed with this way of playing, and he needs to add more talent into the team, especially up front. Oh God, The Athletic. Okay. So yeah. Ali said Klopp wanted Brandt. Sporting director pushed him to Salah instead, and he didn't want Mane either. Klopp. And he didn't just like get him and not work with him either. He got the players that the sporting director wanted to give him. And not only did he make it work, but he made those players into world-class players, or, put them in a system to let them thrive, So also it has to be somebody that's, because my biggest concern with Arteta too is when he doesn't like a player, he ices them out badly, So yeah, Samuel says, why can't managers choose their own potential signings? Um, it's not about choosing. Of course, the manager should get a say. Like, I'm not saying that they shouldn't get a say, but it can't be the manager just doing whatever he wants and they just give him what he wants. Um, there has to be some sort of push and pull. There has to be checks and balances. There has to be somebody that tells you no. Somebody that says, no, you're not going to get Havertz. You're going to make ESR work. And instead of bringing in Havertz to play this weird left center mid position, use ESR, use Fabio Vieira, because we already bought you those players, or you already have those players, and we're going to get you a striker. We're going to take that 65 million to get you a striker because that's what you need, So to me, I think that it's not about him not choosing anything. It's not about having a sporting director that's just going to do whatever he wants. It needs to be more collaborative. Right now, it's not collaborative. It's just not. It's the goalkeeper coach and Arteta buying goalkeepers and left backs. That's what it is right now. We wouldn't even got Calafiori, really, had Real Madrid not shown interest. We panicked when Real Madrid showed interest, but we could have had a summer window potentially if things had went the way that they wanted it to go, is after we didn't get Sesko and Nico Williams, to not get any attacker and just to get that backup goalkeeper. That's what we were veering into. They need somebody watching them. Like, Ali says, did you see what Ornstein said about Arteta's power? No, I didn't. But it has to be almost like all the power. I don't imagine Arteta has anybody checking him, so yeah. Burmy says, I'm not familiar with any of these options, so thanks for doing this pod. The sporting director needs to be experienced with proven success, who can make tough decisions and have the authority to override if required. I think we all feel that way. I think we're all very, I think we're all very much so on the same page about it needs to be somebody that can say no, and also I want somebody who can walk and chew gum at the same time. I want somebody that can bring in young players to be developed, somebody that can build for the future and build for now, somebody that can sell well, somebody that can do all of those things. And Edu, as much as he probably had a hand tied behind his back in a lot of these situations, I also think that in what he could do, he was pretty mediocre. So, yeah. Next, let's see. So we had Luis Campos, Thiago Scuro is the next one. I actually looked up this one. Ahead of time because I wanted to instantly rule him out. So Thiago Scuro is the current CEO of Monaco, I think. Yeah. Thiago Scuro is the current CEO at Monaco. Brazilian. Used to be at Red Bull Group. So there's that. I could not find a good list of what he had accomplished at wherever he was at. So Monaco are in a really good position now, but he was hired, or he started at Monaco this last season. So a lot of the things that they're reaping the benefits of are not from him. He's also listed as a director of professional football, board member, and director. So he has a lot of say in what's going on at Monaco. Monaco are very successful at the moment. They're playing really well in Ligue 1. I think they're in second. But again, a lot of the stuff that they're reaping the benefits of came before him. Like I said, he was a part of Red Bull Group. as a sporting director in 2013, 2014, and Red Bull CEO as well. So he also looks like he try his hat at managing, and that didn't fucking work out. So that's him. For me, I don't know how I feel about this one because I couldn't really find excuse me, anything too like good about him, so all I saw was that, you say Red Bull and people start being like, okay, you got it. Hold on, guys, I have to blow my nose. My nose is like running so bad. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. Sorry, I just woke up with like the worst nose in the world. Okay, so let's look for it now. Who is Thiago Scuro? Arsenal target Brazilian as Edu replacement. Race intensifies. Arsenal are considering Monaco chief executive Scuro. Blah blah blah. As someone who has emerged as a potential candidate is Monaco chief, according to DiMarzio, Scuro is being considered for the role, having impressed suitors with his work in Ligue 1. But who is he? Scuro arrived at Monaco from Bragantino at the start of last season alongside Paul Mitchell, who recruited Scuro. He appointed Adi Hooter as manager, whilst also bringing in the likes of Dennis Zakaria, Florin Balogun, and Thilo Kehrer. His managerial choice, as well as his recruitment, is currently proving successful. Monaco finished second in Ligue 1 last season, securing a return to the Champions League this term. They're second this season with 3 wins in their first 4 games. And I think we play them. In fact, we are linked to the sporting director. We're linked with 3 sporting directors whose team we're playing in this league thing in the Champions League. PSG, Monaco, and Brest. I think we play Brest as well. Our second in French top flight and unbeaten in Europe with 3 wins in 4 games before international break. Scuro has grown a reputation as a tough negotiator with a philosophy centered around organization, human relations, and fostering a sense of belonging. Scuro, who initially joined as sporting director before assuming the role of CEO amid an organizational reshuffle, is seen as a big part of Monaco's current success. It's no surprise Arsenal are interested in him as their next sporting director. So this all says like a lot of nice shit about him, so we've obviously dealt with them before because we sold them Florin Balogun. So yeah, I mean, that's all sounds really nice. Definitely not as big of a track record as Luis Campos, but he sounds great. He does. He sounds good. Still would prefer the guy with more of a track record, but Paul Mitchell recruiting him, I think, is more significant than anything. That's something that stands out to me because we know Paul Mitchell is very well known as a good recruiter of people and of players. And yeah, I guess his managerial choice has been good, which also has to be something that we look at too, because as much as I don't feel like Arteta is going anywhere, you do want somebody that can identify a good coach too, just in case, because we don't know, maybe somebody takes Arteta off our hands. I don't know, so he sounds good too. Not as good as Campos. And then we'll look at Olabe next, who I wouldn't be surprised if he's the one that we get because he's the one at Sociedad. So, or he was at Sociedad and now he's gone. So Sai says, Souls will be happy. He's had Edu on Fraud Watch for a while now. Aha Aha says, we don't play Brest, we play Girona Zagreb. Oh, I thought we played Brest. No, we don't play Brest? Okay. Yeah, Marco beat me to it. Nuances says, I take Campos. He'd side eye some of Arteta's doings, and at some point he'd ask a question, do we need to upgrade from Edu? It's just, yeah, it's just need to bring in somebody that, can put their foot down. It's so important. Nuances says Edu can even sign us Mario from Brazil. I honestly think Forest may be going backwards. I mean, we'll see. Forest are doing well right now, and maybe if Edu has more power, he'll do more things because he wasn't great. Excuse me, he wasn't great in my opinion, but he also had one hand tied behind his back. So it would be really nice to see like a list of signings that Edu wanted and what we ended up getting. We'll never see that, but I bet you it was real different. Now, Edu also, beyond bullshit with those agents, he loves, calling up one of his little agent friends, his Kia Jarapchin, and bringing in some nonsense too. So we have to be like honest about that too. I think it's two things can be true at a time. Edu had one hand tied behind his back and he didn't have a lot of power. And so a lot of things that he probably wanted to do did not come to fruition because he was doing what Arteta wanted. But equally, he also was on some bullshit, so two things can be true at the same time. Ace says, get Campos. He's world-class and very good at his job. Yeah. And I mean, at least he's, I know people will debate this. Is PSG a big club? But I would imagine it's a club that people expect to do big things. So you don't have expectations of clubs that you don't feel like have the facilities to do it. They haven't won a Champions League yet, but by all intents and purposes, I feel like PSG is a big club and he's been at one. Scuro, no, not yet. And so let's talk about Olabe as well, who the minute that he left that job at Real Sociedad, or, I was like, really? The Real Sociedad technical director leaves his post the minute that we're looking for someone. Sick. He'll leave at the end of the season, it says. So yeah. Let's see. I know a lot of people aren't going to want this. This is the one they're not going to want. And I can understand why. I can 100% understand why. So let's see. Real Sociedad sports chief Olabe hints at being open to Arsenal talks. Olabe will leave his post at La Real at the end of the season and is being linked with the Gunners as a replacement for Edu Gaspar. The very structure of the decision is not based on the future. If in 2024 we talk about 2025 and we give ourselves timing in which I give my commitment to continue working in a season, that is not easy to manage. I don't give a fuck. I understood that it is important to continue working this season. Okay, bitch, what you talking about? Oh, he's just talking about his decision to leave. We don't care about that. But he's the one responsible for Isak, Odegaard, Marino, well, not really Zubimeni because Zubimeni was from their academy. So, but he's responsible for all those players, which is basically the team that we want. So, yeah. So we're instantly linked with him, which makes sense, but we know that he knows our players well. And Real Sociedad, for the most part, are punching above their weight in La Liga most years. Since he's been there, they've been, in European competition. They built a solid team, huge emphasis on their academy, and bringing in good talent, so, and he's probably somebody that Arteta would want to work with, and that's my biggest thing is it has to be somebody that Arteta can and will work with, somebody that he's not going to consistently say no to. And this seems like somebody that he'd like. So yeah. Um, let's see. La, 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 la. Yeah. Uh, I'm just skimming this. So yeah, this is somebody that has experience of building a good side. Is he building an elite side? No. Is he identifying good talent? Is he getting more out of like a team that's not supposed to be doing anything? Is he getting them into a position to do more with his recruitment? Absolutely. And so that's super important because I feel like with what we've spent, we would expect to have more and we're not. And that's probably because we still have major gaps, talent gaps in our team. I like people that can work with a little bit and get a lot out of it. And that's what he's been able to do. That's what Scurll's been able to do. And that's what Campos has been able to do. So they're all really good options. We'll also look at the Leverkusen one as well. But the guy from Leverkusen, but he would probably be second on the list. Yeah, second on the list for me. Campos, Olabe, Scurll third. But like Campos like way above. Like Campos, Olabe and them, you know? Let's see. Sai says, I'm torn on how to judge Edu. I know he didn't do all the things we wanted him to do, but we also don't know what he was up against. Exactly. And that's why I kind of feel a little like whatever about it. Like at this stage with Edu, it is what it is. He's gone. I think the timing of when he left was kind of fucked though. Um, like this guy said he was leaving, but he was like not going to leave them high and dry in the middle of the season. The fact that he was so desperate to leave so quickly makes me think that there was like bad blood or something, or he just was like, fuck y'all, you know? So, um, but other than that, I don't really, judging him doesn't really mean anything to me anymore because he's gone. We just need to bring in somebody better than him, and I think that's kind of where we're at right now. David, thank you so much for your super chat. David says, great to catch a live stream. Hardly see them live. Thanks for the great content. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. If you guys are interested in more live content, I'm going to be doing a stream at 8 p.m. where we can talk about Jokeris and Isak and Trossard and Ethan and all the kind of like newsy stuff that's come out. I wanted to just focus on the sporting directors right now. But yeah, but I didn't want to put it all in one show. So this is just about the sporting directors. That's it. And then at 8 p.m., we'll talk about the other stuff because that's also important, but different. Marco says if we left it to Arteta, the sporting director would just be his assistant. And I was saying this in a group chat not too long ago, is that the biggest fuck up that we could have is if the sporting director became an assistant or a consultant or liaison. It needs to be somebody that is head of recruitment. This is the person that Arteta needs to chat to. He can't just do whatever and just have somebody doing the data numbers for him and making up his 180-page binder on a player. No. This person needs to have a role that is carved out and very specific and is separate to Mikel. So it can't be absorbed. It can't be demoted. It can't be any of that. And I wonder if they didn't give Edu more power because they didn't trust him, because some of the people that they're looking at have higher positions than what we're actually looking for. So maybe they felt like they couldn't give Edu the CEO position because they didn't trust him. And I could kind of understand that because Edu, like I said, is on bullshit as well. But Arteta is also on BS, So we need somebody that can just clear all this up. When we get into the window, I'm in charge, So we're going to talk together and you're not just going to say no to everything that I tell you, So yeah. Boy says Edu was being denied his agent links, so he got upset and left. Yeah, they didn't want any more key adoption, like monstrosities at the club, and I don't freaking blame them. I don't freaking blame them at all. I don't blame them. Because key interruption players, I think that first burn was Willian. I think that really just kind of like, you know, I think once that happened, the vibe like really changed. And Edu wasn't able to just get his agent connections involved. I also think Fabio Vieira was very much so an agent connection from Edu. And George Mendes, and that didn't really work out either. And the way that Arteta used Fabio and the way that he just kind of shoved him to the side lets me think that that didn't work out. So most of the people that we got mixed into with Edu from his agent connections were not great. Osman says, yes, they are, but he did not do a better job than Leonardo, who got the best PSG generation. A bench player in Leonardo era is playing in today's PSG. Kolo Muani, 80 million. Dembele, Ramos. Oh, I think, yeah, people are talking about is Luis Campos, what he's done at PSG. I mean, listen, Kolo Muani is what it is. But I have to say, like, even though I feel like they've done poorly with the strikers, I think that's the main thing. Excuse me. The main thing that they've done wrong is the strikers with that Ramos Sky and Kolo Muani, or neither one of them are good enough. But if you look beyond that, I really do think that they've done a good job. They brought in young Brazilian talents. They've brought in Barcola, Desire Doué. They brought in Vitinha, João Neves. Those are all really good players. They have Zaire Emery, who did they come? He may have come through their academy. But that being said, they do have a lot of really good young talent that I do think we could use. So I kind of get it that he has some odd ones in there, but his track record for the most part, even with maybe a not so successful stint at PSG, is probably still the best of anybody that we can get. He has more of a track record and more experience and more success than anyone else on this list, even if you add the mistakes at PSG. And PSG is known as a dumpster fire anyway. It's a really difficult environment to be in, so yeah. Sai says, who sold us Pepe? Let's get him. So Campos, that's who you want. Pelza says, I really can't say anything, to be honest. Nico says, keep the chat football related, please. Yeah, I mean, Nico's doing his job, but you guys know you guys, like, a lot of you guys don't know anything about my life or me, and so you guys come in with nonsense all the time because you guys are jobless and ridiculous. Boy says Luis Campos was the guy that unearthed Mbappe, Silva, Fabinho, and a bunch of other heavy hitters from his years at Monaco. Those players are still being floated on the market now. I think he's really good. I really think he's the best name on the list. Will Arsenal just go get the best name on the list, though? That's not really their hit their bag. Like, I feel like I'd be really surprised, really, really surprised if Arsenal went for Campos, because that's so unlike them. Under this regime, with the Kroenkes full ownership, it's really been about internal what lady? Okay, I'll leave. I don't know what you're talking about. It's really been about young people, letting people grow into the job, bringing in people that are less known, whatever. So will Arsenal just go and get the biggest name? I don't know, but I feel like they should. I feel like they should. Boy says Campos gets judged for his PSG days, but no sober director of football would make a team of Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi. That's happening all above his station. I think, like, even with the PSG thing, I think they probably don't consider it much better this season, but I think they're better this season in terms of they have a more young, talented team of players that you can see what they're trying to do and stop the nonsense of trying to one, appease Mbappe, and two, try to build a super team. So, yeah, I was impressed with the players that they brought in. So, I'd be like, if we turned around and brought in a João Neves, Vitinha type of player, I'd be like, woohoo, you know. So, I don't know. I like the guy, but I also want somebody that can walk into the room, and Arteta can't just be like, well, here I'm in charge. No, 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 I'm in charge. You're not. You know, I need that. I need that bad. So, yeah, let's see. Christian says, let's be real, it's gonna be Rosicki or Murder Soccer. If it is, drop me out. I will not be there. I will not be there at all. So yeah, I will not be there. Let's see. So next, let's look at Simon Rolfes. Yeah. Yeah, Simon Rolfes, that's the last one we'll look at. And he is at Bayer Leverkusen. Let's see. He's probably like dead last on my list, but I mean, they have done some good recruitment. Okay, Simon Rolfes used to be a German soccer player. That's what it says. Let's look here. Simon Rolfes, who is Bayer Leverkusen's behind-the-scenes mastermind. From Florian Wirtz to Alejandro Grimaldo and even Xabi Alonso himself, Bayer Leverkusen's director of sport, Simon Rolfes, has demonstrated just how keen an eye is for spotting and recruiting talent. Rolf's association with Leverkusen began in 2005 when he played for them. And then he stopped playing at a certain time. We don't care about that. Let's see. And then, so while Alonso deserves all the credit he has received for turning the side at risk of being relegated into a swashbuckling Bundesliga champions in the space of 18 months, Ralph's played a significant role in building the squad, a process that has been years in the making. For example, Ezequiel Palacios and Edmund Tapsoba, two cornerstones of this championship-winning side, both arrived as far back as 2020, over 4 years ago. Wirtz arrived in July of that year, followed by Patrick Schick, Jeremy Frimpong, Piero Hincapié, and Robert Aldrich. That was followed by Alonso's appointment in 2022. And so he did all that shit. So that's not bad. And a lot of those players that, you know, they brought in, not for like huge fees either, are players that would, you know, be on the market for a lot more now. So, you know, their squad value has gone up quite a bit. It is also why he is able to issue a firm rebuttal to Bayern Munich honorary president that Leverkusen had been lucky in the summer of 2023 transfer market by signing Grimaldo, Granit Xhaka, and Victor Boniface. He said there's no luck. It's not lucky, you know, because I guess Bayern Munich were saying that they were lucky. I don't think they were lucky. They weren't like, it wasn't like a Leicester-y type of thing. Like, they definitely deserved to win it. They're suffering a little bit now, but, you know, never really expected them to go back to back, in my opinion. So, yeah, he's good too. I mean, on paper, he looks good too. Still, I said Campos is high, but, you know, him, Scuro, Olabe, and this guy all have that thing in common where they're taking like smaller teams and building good teams that are competing with the bigger sides. Sociedad been like a consistent European side, or team in Europe, you know, European competition, competing with the bigger sides. Bayer Leverkusen competing with, you know, the Dortmunds and the Bayern Munichs, and Monaco competing with PSG. So that's pretty much the difference. Campos has a similar thing where he did that with Monaco and with Lille. Now he's at PSG. the biggest thing with PSG is not winning Ligue 1, though. We know that the biggest thing with them is winning the Champions League, and they haven't done that. So, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Just don't bring in Rosicky and Murder Don't do that, you know? Let's see. Anton Dunn says 80K stadium expansion discuss. Y'all can discuss that in the chat. Like I said, we're gonna do another show at 8 p.m. UK time. The link is actually pinned in the chat, so if you guys can go and set your reminders for that. That's going to be more of like a catch-all show where we're going to talk about Gyökeres versus Isak. Is either one of those even likely to happen? You know, blah blah blah. Ethan, new contract, Ben and Trossard's injuries, and then we can also talk about the stadium expansion if you guys want to. So that will be more of a catch-all show at that time, but we're going to just stick with the sporting directors for now. Osmond says, let's get Wenger. Imagine the plot twist. The last thing I want is anybody that's been connected to this club in the past. I feel like that direction that we went in was all based on fantasy and, you know, being very sentimental and romantic about everything. Go get the best person. Like, don't get Arsene. I cannot imagine a world with Arsene and Arteta trying to figure out how to build a squad. They just are both very hard-headed, and like Arsene is like, he's done, you know, he's not going to come back. So yeah. Boy says Rosicky is possible though, maybe over Mars after community service. Neither one of those, please. Olu says, by the way, Campos doesn't splash cash. He's prudent. I'm okay with not splashing the cash as long as you're bringing in talent. Like, that is the whole point. You bring, especially for a club like Arsenal that is constantly struggling to pinch a couple of pennies together. I'm sorry, but we are not a state-owned backed club. We're not. And we don't have a big conglomerate or whatever behind us just pushing cash. We need to be able to recruit top talent or, you know, future talent, prospect, whatever, for cheaper. You know, and I think what always fucks us over is, one, we can't sell for shit. Like at all, because the value of a player is always totally like, it's just squashed by Mikel. You know, any player that we want to sell sits on our bench and rots for months on months on months, and then we're like, hey, come get our trash. Like, nobody wants to buy this shit. We also wait too long to sell, but not only that, we do the obvious thing. We go to a Premier League side and we overpay by 30, 40 million sometimes, and that money can be used to do something else, you know? So I like prudent. Okay, 24-hour fitness, fuck off. Let's see. I don't care about being prudent. I care about getting the talent. Like, I'm so sorry, but we just don't. We recruit, I would say, like, our recruitment is probably like, I think I've said this before. I think the whole time that it's been Edu and Arteta, I would give it like a C+, B-. There's just been too many misses, too many gaps in the squad that are consistently there. It's just, yeah. But what, like, first of all, Saka is somebody that was already there. So we didn't recruit Saka. Zinchenko and Jesus are already useless and only had one good season. That's fucking insane to me. Martinelli was pre-Arteta, so he doesn't even count, and he's a great signing. You had Trossard and Jesus that came in, or Trossard and Jorginho that came in as stopgaps when we couldn't get Caicedo and Mudryk, and they ended up being bigger parts of the squad because of whatever fucking reason. Kai Havertz, you guys can yell at your wall about this. I don't think the signing is a great signing. I think we're making it work, and he's a good player that's doing good things for us. And because Jesus was so ass, like, it was good. You could bring Kai Havertz and put him up front, but we still need a midfielder and we still need a striker. So we didn't solve either one of those problems. So that's a very suspect signing. Mikel can't figure out how to get the best from his £100 million signing. Wow, that's insane. We're still looking at Marino, trying to figure out, you know, what his level is going to be. So not going to put anything on him. Calafiori looks great, but he's injured. Raya's been really good. Odegaard's been really good. I think those are smash hits. Saliba was pre him, so you can't take Saliba. Gabrielle is a hit. Ben White is a hit, although we overpaid because we went to Brighton. Tommy, you know, so there's just like a lot, you know. I need prudent. I need prudent. Foxy says Campos doesn't splash the cash. 770 wait, 771 million splashed in the last 3 seasons. I think you have to apply context to that he's at a state-owned or state-backed club. So no offense, Foxy. I know you're also like you're a Newcastle fan. I'm not saying it as like a negative. But I think you have to look more at what he did at Monaco and Lille versus what he would do at Arsenal, because I feel like the job that he would do for us is more similar to that than the job that he's doing at PSG. PSG have the ability to continuously splash cash. That's all they've done. So I feel like that's not really a Campos thing. That's more of a PSG thing, where when you see him with less less to his disposal, he can work with that and can be prudent. So I think you have to remember that the situation that he's in is much different. Boy says Havertz, Jesus, Zinchenko, Marino, Trossard, Kivior are all suspect signings. Even Raya, to be honest, I don't know. Raya is not. Raya has actually been a smash hit. I don't think he's a suspect signing. I feel like, is that what we needed to do at that time? Probably not. I think we could have done another season of Ramsdale because, again, we went into the summer window not feeling like we needed to get a new number one. So I think the timing of the transfer is strange, but like Raya is not a suspect signing. Like by the time we get to, the next World Cup, he'll probably be the number one goalkeeper for Spain. Like he's been great to me, to be honest. Jordan Hill says, who's Dortmund's sporting director? They seem to always get good talents in the team. I don't know. I don't know who their sporting director is, but I think we're in 2024, almost 2025. I think we're more evolved as a people away from like Dortmund. Like Dortmund has obviously been great. And like 10 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, but there's so many smaller teams that are doing really well with their recruitment strategy outside of Dortmund now that I think we can park them for a while. Dortmund are going through their own struggles too, because one thing that they can get talent, but they can't hire the right coach. And that's also a part of recruitment. So I'd actually probably stay away from them if I'm honest. Boy says Campos would be transformative at Arsenal. He would be the one telling Arteta to forget about signing a midfielder like Marino and play Waneri and MLS instead. Marco says, crazy shout, Paulo Maldini for sporting director. He did a great job at Milan. He got them Leao, Hernandez, and Manyan. That's a good like left field one. He ain't coming to us though. Let's be real. Nuances of Fate says, I like prudent. I like smart signings. I like the ability to spot talent. Most of our best signings in history have been smart, prudent signings. The biggest problem that we have is we don't have that good balance of getting those marquee signings and also getting the smart signings and mixing it together. We're either too heavy on one or too heavy on the other, and we leave obvious gaps all the time. We build a good team and then we let it all fall apart because we don't get the two things that we needed to get. We always do that. But over the years, some of our best signings, some of our best players have been cheap as fuck. We've had 100 million pound signing. Pepe was our most expensive signing for years. So that's what we're known for. And you can compete and build great squads with smart signings. Yes, you'll have to do your marquee signings here and there. But the way that we do it, I just feel like we never quite get it right. And that's why where the sporting director comes in for sure. Let's see. Nuances says, my problem with Raya is he's not better than Martinez. That will always be the stick I beat Arteta with. Not in 2024. Still talking about Martinez. Martinez didn't want to fight for his spot. Like, you guys, we must let that go. We must move on. So yeah. Yeah, But yeah, I like the sporting director conversation. I like that we've moved away from the conversations around like bringing in somebody from within. There's nobody within that's good enough. We don't even need to like even look at anybody, to be honest. Um, Inside Permerta Soccer, focus on the academy. Rosicki, stay where you at. Um, let's go and get the best possible person for the job. Let's see what you guys voted on. Um, remember the stream is gonna be at 8 p.m. guys. So if you guys want to talk about other stuff, just come back for that. Let's get the other stuff, just come back. All right. 70% said Campos, but I probably would say that 70% said Campos because we probably don't know the other names. He's the biggest name, So I hear that. Just Tom says Martinez is so mid. How he was voted best goalkeeper in the world goes over my head. I just feel like I'm just over it. Foxy says I rate Campos, but he definitely splashes the cash before PSG. Let's not forget how big those Falcao and James Rodriguez deals were for Monaco. I mean, I guess. So yeah, I'll actually go back and look at that and come back at the 12 o'clock stream and see, or the 8 p.m. Stream and come back with where he probably spends the most cash is probably on agents. Because we know he has good agent connections. Oh, guys, look. I bought this off of Amazon. I don't know if you guys can see it. Well, you guys know what it is. Yeah. Isn't that nice? It's really big. And even though my coffee is cold, I love it. I love that cup. So yeah. But yeah, I'm going with Campos because it's the biggest and best name I see on the thing. I don't want to be clever anymore. I just want to go for the biggest thing, the best thing. What I already know works. I don't want to try out anybody else, but the names and their background and what they've done so far at the clubs that they're at, they'd probably be good too. But yeah, I'm loving the Campos links. I'm loving, that we're going outside of the club. You just need to make sure that Arteta can't have all the power. I think that's the most important thing. Is making sure that whoever's brought in feels enabled to do what they want to do and put their own stamp on the club and usher us into a new era. And we'll talk about this on the 8 o'clock stream, but there's a lot of people that already feel like our season is over and that we need to start looking beyond this season. I feel 50-50 on that. I feel the season's not quite over, but the title race is. That's for sure. I just don't think we're going to close a 9-point gap the way that we're playing at the minute. And so there need to be major changes after 5 years of what we've been doing. We've built a good team and there just needs to be, we need to move it forward. I'm at the point now where it's like either shit or get off the pot. We need to start winning shit. I'm tired now. And I don't want to go through another summer window of looking at our team and being like, are they fucking serious? Like, I can't do what last summer was insane to me. It was just like Nico was saying, like media talking about summer transfers in November is disgraceful. The fact that we're even talking about transfers now, just we know that we failed in the summer. The fact that we're, they're reporting that the Cronkies or Arsenal representatives are flying over to America to do almost like not crisis talks, but to talk. It's all because like they have to look at that summer window and be like, what the fuck were we thinking? 2 summers in a row, we've missed out on very obvious things. And so the sporting director is a really good start, but they also need to look at the manager and say, how much longer are we going to give this guy to get it right? Because he's also a big culprit in this, you know? And he's just so fucking hard-headed, man. But yeah, we'll leave that for the 8 p.m. stream. Again, the link is pinned in the chat, so you guys can set your notifications for that. We'll talk about Gyökeres versus Isak, which is like the big conversation. Which one is better? Which one is better for us? Which one is more likely for us to get? We'll also talk about people celebrating Trossard's injury. That is disgraceful, but he is injured. Also, Ben White being out for 8 weeks. What is that going to mean for us? And then Ethan contract talks. So we'll talk about all of that. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel. And for those of you guys who have watched on Instagram, thank you guys so much for joining. I'm going to try to do more of these, but if you guys want to be actually a part of the conversation, come over to the YouTube side. That's where I actually get into the comments, but I wanted to at least give you guys opportunity to watch the show from Instagram. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.